Dear friends, my teacher colleagues, and my dear students, in continuation with our discussion on various topics of immunology, today I shall discuss about the antibodies. In the earlier session, in the first session, I discussed the innate and acquired immunity. Then I discussed the viral diseases and bacterial diseases. In the fourth session, I discussed cells and organs of immune system, and now we shall discuss the antibodies formed in our body against various infections, mainly the viral, bacterial and fungal infections. Whenever there is an infection of microbes or any foreign chemical that interacts with our body adversely, this foreign chemical is called antigen. There are two types of antigens: those which cause allergic reactions are known as allergens, and those stimulating production of immunoglobulins are called immunogens. So the allergens and immunogens are the two types of antigens coming into our body or derived from the viral coats and bacterial cell wall, sometimes the toxic products of fungi. Our body can produce specific proteins that can counteract with the antigens and inactivate the pathogenic effect of the microbes. They belong to gamma fraction of globin proteins present in blood serum, so that these are called gamma globins, and as because these are concerned with our immunization against pathogens, these are known as immunoglobulins. So let us discuss this point. A rabbit was taken in the late 1950s. It was kept at the lab condition without any chance of infection, and then a small amount of blood was taken out. Its serum was isolated and subjected to paper electrophoresis. Three major bands, the alpha, beta and gamma bands, were present on the electrophoretic paper. Because the blood plasma contains mostly globin proteins, these were named as alpha globins, beta globins and gamma globins. Now, if an antibody is formed and secreted into the blood plasma, it can be detected by the same technique, electrophoresis. So after a week, the rabbit was infected with Streptococci bacteria that causes skin infection, and after 3 or 4 days The blood was taken out. Again, its serum was isolated and subjected to electrophoresis. The scientists found that the gamma band became more dense. In the densitometric observation, the peak level of gamma family increased, and therefore it was confirmed that the immunoglobulins belong to the gamma family of blood plasma proteins, that is, these are the gamma globulins. In 1950s, Porter and Edelman discovered the basic structure of immunoglobulin molecule. Now you know how the gamma globin can be separated by electrophoresis. These two scientists used two enzymes. Rather, one enzyme, one is the papain, very powerful proteolytic enzyme that breaks specific points in the protein, and another was a powerful reducing agent, that is beta mercaptoethanol. So when beta mercaptoethanol was used, it was found that in the immunoglobulin, two types of proteins were present. One polypeptide was almost half in size than another. So one was called the light molecule and another was called the heavy molecule. Light chain and the heavy chain. They worked on immunoglobulin M, IgM molecules, and found that two heavy chains of molecular weight 50,000 Dalton each and two light chains of molecular weight 25,000 Dalton each were present in IgM. Because they dissociate by treatment of beta mercaptoethanol, they must be associated together by disulfide bridge. That is the sulfur of two cysteine molecules present in two polypeptide chains were attached together, and when hydrogen was added, the disulfide bridge broke. When another enzyme papain is used, the stem part breaks, leaving only the fork, and because of that, the one fraction has total molecular weight twice than another fraction. Now they concluded that the two heavy chains are identical to each other, and likewise the two light chains also are identical to each other. The light chains are associated with the heavy chain at their amino terminals and form a fork-like structure. I just said that after treatment of papain, this fork-like structure separated and it contained part of heavy chain and the entire length of the light chain. So there must be a fork-like structure. The remaining part of the heavy chains that had molecular weight almost half contained similar length of the amino acids in the chain. So they must have formed the stem part, that means the Y-shaped structure of immunoglobulin was determined, in which the two light chains are attached towards the amino terminal and the remaining length of the heavy chains become attached together towards the carboxyl terminal, forming the stem. The light chain is associated with heavy chain by formation of a disulfide bridge. You must take care that only one disulfide bridge is present between the light and heavy chain towards the carboxyl terminal near the fork site, whereas the two heavy chains are attached together by formation of disulfide bridges at 3 to 6 places between the two chains in the stem region. It depends on the length of the stem and the type of the immunoglobulin. So they acquire Y shape. Now the fork region that can be separated by papain enzyme from the stem binds with antigen contains two light chain and only half part of the heavy chain that has antigen binding capacity. And after this fork region is separated from remaining stem, it still contains its binding property to antigens. So after separation also, its specificity to the antigen is intact. This part is therefore called antigen binding fraction, FAB. It will be cleared in the diagram coming in next pages. And the stem part still has more than 200 amino acid in each chain, can be crystallized, hence it is called crystallizable fraction or FC. So there are two parts in antibodies. The upper part that has fork-like structure is FAB, that is fraction antigen binding, and the stem part is crystallizable fraction FC. Now see this diagram. It is very simple but self-explanatory. You see the structure. There are two arms forming the fork. This fork region has certain angle. It may be fixed or variable. Now the heavy chains are attached together in this diagram at two places. And the light chain also is attached together at one place. So this attachment is because of the disulfide bond. Here interchain disulfide bond, that is in between light and heavy chain, and intra-chain, yani within the chain itself, disulfide bond. What is this intra-chain? So you see the loop-like structure at 4 places. In between the length of amino acid and this loop region, here I am painting red, like this or like this, contains disulfide. So at 4 places in heavy chain there are intra-chain disulfide, and at 2 places in the light chain there are intra-chain disulfide bridge. Now this stem part is separated. Here it can be separated by the action of papain enzyme. So the upper part becomes the antigen binding fraction, FAB, and the lower part becomes crystallizable fraction or Fc region. Now there are the terms used VH, VL. V stands for the variable region, heavy chain H, light chain L. C stands for the constant region for the heavy chain and for the light chain. And the constant regions are numbered 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it may have a fourth constant region. The same diagram is shown here, but you see it is the model of protein, the light chain as well as the heavy chain. In green color, the light chain has been painted, and in the light blue color or in the stem part deep blue color is given for the heavy chain. So you see this is the Fc region, that is crystallizable region, and these two are the two arms of the Y. It becomes FAB, that is fraction antibody binding. Now let us observe the nature of the light chain. The first point is light chain sequencing. The amino acid sequencing of light chains reveals that towards the amino terminal, about 100 to 110 amino acids have a lot of variations in the amino acid sequence, the type and sequence of amino acid. So this region is named as variable region of light chain. Whereas the sequence towards carboxyl terminal has much consistency in terms of the type of amino acid and their arrangement. So it is named as constant region of the light chain. In different immunoglobulins, two different types of chains are seen in the constant region, and these are named as kappa type and lambda type. These kappa and lambda are the two different types of light chains. It has only two types, either 2 molecules of lambda or 2 molecules of kappa. Now what is the heavy chain sequencing? The amino acid sequencing of heavy chain revealed that 100 to 110 amino acids towards the amino terminal show remarkable variations, just similar to that observed in the light chains. Hence these are also named as the variable region of the heavy chain, VH. Thus the heavy chain, variable region of light chain as well as heavy chain become similar. The remainder of the heavy chain towards carboxyl terminals have fairly constant amino acid sequence, and these have been named as constant regions of heavy chains, that is CH. Now in the diagram I have shown that there are 3 constant regions, and I said that sometimes there are 4 constant regions. Now come to the types of heavy chain. As many as 5 types of heavy chains have been recognized, and these have been named as alpha, gamma, delta, epsilon and mu chains. You can write A for alpha, G for gamma, D for delta, E for epsilon and M for mu chains. According to the type of this light heavy chain, the immunoglobulins have been named as IgA, IgG, IgD, IgE and IgM. that is IgA contains 2 alpha heavy chains, IgG contains 2 gamma heavy chains. Similarly, IgD contains 2 delta heavy chains, and so on. Each of the different constant regions of the heavy chains is called isotype. That is constant 1, constant 2, constant 3. These are 3 or 4 constant regions. The 2 constant regions facing each other are similar, so these are called isotypes. Now, depending on the light and heavy chains, the antibodies have been classified into 5 classes: IgA, IgG, IgD, IgE, and IgM. But depending on the nature of light chain, these are divided into 2 subclasses. One for the kappa chain and another for the lambda chain. So IgA has 2 types: alpha 2, kappa 2, alpha 2, lambda 2. Similarly, IgG has 2 types: gamma 2, kappa 2, and gamma 2, lambda 2. So 5 classes and 2 subclasses in each are formed in the immunoglobulin family. Now, what are these domains, these variable region or constant regions, etc.? On careful analysis of the amino acid sequence, these 100 or 102 amino acids forming the variable region contain several homologous units, and they form a domain. About 60 amino acids of these 110 form a loop with the help of formation of disulfide bond. So it is called the variable loop. VL and VH. Variable region in the light chain VL and variable region in the heavy chain VH. The heavy chain contains 1 variable region VH and 3 or 4 constant regions CH1, CH2, CH3 and CH4 depending on the class of antibody, and the light chain has 1 variable domain and another constant domain. It has only 1 constant domain, so it is simply written as CL. Now, within the variable region domain, detailed analysis of amino acid sequence of the light and heavy chains variable region domains revealed that it has several hypervariable region, that is 6 to 8 amino acids are such that become changed frequently within the variable region. So this small part is hypervariable region. These are also known as complementary determining region. Complementary determining regions or CDRs. Variable region contains hypervariable region. Variable region is larger, but hypervariable region is very small, and it is also named as complementary determining region, CDRs. 3 such hypervariable regions are present in human and mouse variable region domains, and it constitutes about 15 to 20% of the variable domain. So out of 110 amino acid, if there are 10 amino acids showing much variation, it means it is less than 10%. So maximum 15 to 20% region is hypervariable region. The remainder of the variable region show very little variation and it is named as framework region. Framework region is the main frame to identify the antigen, but the hypervariable region is the accurate points of the keys to identify the antigens. You have a key, it has a long stem, but the teethed part has a specific arrangement. So it is not important that what is the length or thickness of the stem of your key. The most important is the teeth formed on the apex of the key that unlocks. Similarly, the arrangement of this hypervariable region is the key that identifies the antigens specifically, and remaining part of this variable region acts as framework region, FRs. The wide range of specificity of the antibodies lies in these 6 hypervariable regions of the antigen binding fraction. So these hypervariable regions are the most important parts. Again, any given antigen, any of the 5 classes of the antibodies can be formed. That means if one particular species of virus infects a man, any of the 5 classes of antibody can be formed, but the structure of variable region remains same. For another antigen, the structure of variable region changes. So it is just like the lock and key arrangement. For every lock of the same company, same mark, same number of lever, the structure of key point changes and it becomes specific to that particular lock. Similarly, for every antigen, this hypervariable region of the heavy and light chains are very specific. And for another antigen, its structure changes. Now what are the constant regions? The amino acid sequence of this domain show slight variation among different classes of antibodies and it is associated with various biological functions of the antibody. It is not directly involved in identification of the antigen. The FAB region of antibody is extended by the presence of CH1 and Cl, that is the first constant region of the heavy chain and the only constant region on the light chain domains, thereby facilitating interaction with antigen by increasing the maximum rotation of FAB arm. There are 3 groups of antibodies in which arms can rotate. There is a hinge arrangement at the fork side. Depending on the size and shape of the antigen, these arms can rotate. Their angle can increase or decrease. The constant region of the light chain Cl is linked with CH1 by disulfide bridge. I have shown the diagram. There was only one disulfide bridge between heavy and light chain near the carboxyl terminal. In IgM and IgE, only these 2 classes, IgM and IgE. Just remember ME, me. There are 4 constant regions. Me have 4 constant regions. IgM and IgE have 4 constant regions, CH1, CH2, CH3, CH4. The 4th constant region increases the length of a stem, and therefore a major part of the stem goes into the ectoplasm or protoplasm, and these are used for transduction of the information to the cell. But in IgA, IgD and IgG, ADG, there are 3 constant regions and a hinge region. If there is 4th constant region, there is no hinge. If there are 3 constant regions, there is a hinge. That is the changing angle. And the hinge is in between CH1 and CH2. At the hinge, the 2 arms of the fork can move according to the size of antigen and pick them with both the arms together. So just remember how you catch a ball falling towards you from the sky. If the ball is smaller, your palms become closer, forming a small cup-like structure. But if the ball is a larger ball like a football, you expand your palms so that you can grip the ball properly. Similar to that, the hinge region provides the accurate size, accurate angle, so that both arms of the fork can hold the antigen. This is the comparative structure: IgA, IgD, IgG. CH1, 2 CH1s are there. In between CH1 and CH2, there is hinge region, and then CH3. In the IgM and IgE, there are 4 constant regions, but no hinge region. So, one difference is there. IgA, D and G, ADG have hinge region and 3 constant region. And IgM and IgE may have 4 constant region but no hinge region. It is very important point. And if it is asked in NEET, only a few students can answer it. Now, let us study some more properties of these 5 classes of antibodies. The first point is S value, that is sedimentation coefficient. The lowest value is that of IgG because its molecular weight is 150 kilodalton. The highest sedimentation rate is that of IgM, that has 900 kilodalton molecular weight. It seems that it is group of 4 or 5 individual molecules of immunoglobulin. IgA (160 to 180 kilodalton weight). IgD also has 180 kilodalton molecular weight. IgE has 190 kilodalton weight. So the smallest one is the IgG with the lowest sedimentation coefficient between 6 and 7. Now when the concentration of these antibodies are analyzed in the blood plasma, it is a tough method. It involves radioimmunoassay or the antigen-antibody titer technique. It is found that IgG and IgM have very high amounts. IgG is 1000 unit, IgM has 1200 unit, IgA has poor level 200 units only. But the remaining 3 units for IgD, 0.5 units for the IgE, it means IgD and IgE have somewhat non-secretory habit. These are not secreted frequently in the blood plasma. Now, because of the lowest molecular weight, you can see that IgG can diffuse through placenta from mother to their offspring in the womb. Some antibodies always diffuse from mother to the child, and these belong to IgG group. No other has placental diffusion. Now, IgM reacts more in case of the bacterial infection. It is more active against the bacteria, whereas IgA is more active against the virus. So the normal pathological labs, when does ELISA test, it reports just only the level of the class of antibody, whether IgM is high or IgA is high, and on this basis they assume that whether it is viral infection or the bacterial infection. They do not confirm which antigen is there and which class of the virus or bacteria is there. Now, there are 2 types of antibodies on the basis of their secretion. These are the humoral and non-humoral antibodies. These are simple terms. Antibodies are produced by 2 types of lymphocytes. These are B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. The B lymphocyte produce antibodies and secrete them into blood plasma. Therefore, these are called secretory antibodies or humoral antibodies. Their levels increase till all the antigens are not inactivated, but after the infection is completely suppressed, the B cell colony decreases, secretion of antibody decreases, and the level comes to normal. On the other hand, the T lymphocytes, when produce antibodies, they do not secrete them into blood plasma. So these are non-secretory or non-humoral. IgD and IgE are secreted in only a very small amount in blood plasma because these are mostly produced by the T lymphocytes. IgE is largely cell bound, especially to the mast cells. It mediates immediate hypersensitivity reactions that are responsible for the symptoms of hay fever, asthma, hives, and anaphylactic shocks. That means these are more active against the allergic reactions. These symptoms would occur when an antigen complexes with IgE, which is bound to mast cells. IgE binds to the Fc receptors on the mast cells of basophils and complexes with infectious agents or antigens, mainly the allergens. So remember this point, which antibody is secreted or which antibody becomes more active against allergens in the allergic reactions? The answer would be it is the IgE. IgE is more active against allergic reactions. In the primary and secondary response to antigens, at first the level of IgM increases, and because of that the level of IgM was 1200 units. Then the IgG level increases. It had 1000 units. The humoral response helps in elimination of extracellular pathogens by specific antibody production against different antigenic determinants or the epitopes of a pathogen. The varieties of functions performed by the antibodies to eliminate the pathogens from the body cell. In the previous session it was discussed how the B cell and T cells respond to antigens, and I had shown with the diagram that more than one epitopes are there, that is antigenic determinants are there on the surface of antigen. In case of monoclonal antibody, only one epitope is identified, but in polyclonal antibodies, different molecules of antibodies can identify different epitopes on the antigens. The antibody initiate complement-mediated lysis of the pathogen by activating the complement present in blood plasma. Almost 20 proteins are such in blood plasma that help in reacting with antigens or allergens. They have two different cascades of reactions. It is very specific for immunology, not for the general students of biology. So blood complement reaction is more important. It helps in inactivation of the antigen producing virus or bacteria. So antibodies initiate complement mediated lysis of the pathogen. Pathogen is affected. Not only the antigen, but antigen producing pathogen, the virus or bacteria, is lysed by activating the complement present in the blood plasma. Antibodies bind to pathogens and bring about opsonization. It is a new term, and facilitate phagocytosis mediated through Fc receptors on the phagocyte cells. Phagocytic cells means the monocyte, neutrophils, etc. What is the opsonization? Opsonin is a substance that facilitates phagocytosis by coating around the particle, coating around the antigen particles. So when opsonin forms a coat around antigen, the antigen directly cannot react with our body. And after that, the pathogen that was producing this antigen is surrounded by the blood complement factors and help in their phagocytosis, that is being eaten by the neutrophils and monocytes and then digested intracellular. Deposition of opsonin on an antigen, thereby promoting a stable adhesive contact with an appropriate phagocytic cell. It is known as opsonization. So after coating The phagocytic cells eat the antigen containing pathogen. It is just like sugar coating. A capsule contains the chemicals that is bitter in taste. It is coated with the sugar and you can engulf it very easily. It becomes palatable. And similarly, when opsonine coats the antigen, the phagocytic cells, the neutrophils and monocytes, can eat the antigen forming virus or bacteria. That is called opsonization. Antibodies directly bind to bacterial toxins and neutralize them. So the toxic material, that is antigenic materials, are directly bound to antibodies. Antibodies facilitate cell-mediated cytotoxicity through their Fc receptor and help in killing the infected cell. In previous lecture, I had discussed that TC cells can eliminate even a tumor cells, a cancer-infected cells. Antibodies bind to viruses and prevent from proliferation. Viruses cannot multiply after the antibody interact with them. Now, you are well acquainted with the synthesis, structure and function of the antibodies. Just read the previous session, the cells of immune system, that is B lymphocyte, T lymphocyte, three types of T lymphocyte, the TH, TC and natural killer cells. And then this antibody, and you will understand how the system, our immune system operates against the infections, especially the viral and bacterial infections. So thank you very much. You are most welcome in the next session.